Welcome to Life Recovery Today with Stephen Arterburn. In the next half hour, you'll obtain insights and tools to transform your life using the biblical principles found in the 12-step program. We believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience because we all have struggles in life. Struggles with addictions, food, depression, anxiety, and relationships, to name a few. You'll be encouraged to see how others have found a new way of life with hope for the future through life recovery. Your host is Steve Arterburn, founder of New Life Ministries and Women of Faith, author of over 100 books, and teaching pastor at Northview Church in Carmel, Indiana, one of the 20 largest churches in America. Steve is the co-editor of the Life Recovery Bible, the #1 selling recovery Bible. With over 3 million copies sold, this is the Bible given to inmates by Prison Fellowship and the Pew Bible for the Salvation Army. Now here's Steve.
Hi there, Steve Arterburn here. Thanks for joining me for Life Recovery Today. We're going to be talking to a pastor. He was a worship leader, kind of messed up, and lost his job there, but has risen back up, working a program, a recovery program, and I think you're going to be inspired by his story. But before we do that, I just want to mention to you, right out of the laws of life recovery, this law of humility. It says that the law, your humility, when we follow this law, results in honor. And it reminds me, in the Old Testament, King Josiah, he became king at age 8. Eventually, he says to all his people, we ought to take a look at what the book of the laws say, God's word, because kings like Manasseh had come in and erected all sorts of stuff for idols, folks like that. When he read what God had expected of him and his country, he tore his clothes, humbled himself, wept, grieved, and demanded that everything, it was an extreme makeover of a country, everything be torn down that worshiped an evil idol, and that we restore all the traditions, the laws, the temple, everything was going to go back to honor God. Well, God was going to destroy everything, but because he humbled himself and responded the way he did, God held off that destruction, and it didn't happen in his lifetime. Recovery is really a humility program. And just as that country didn't recover until the king was humble, saw there was a better way, we don't either. But what a great gift when we get off thinking this path that I've got to know everything, I've got to do everything, I've got to have all this power, and we start thinking maybe, just maybe God has a better way. And rather than power down, I can pray up and watch what happens. So maybe you've gotten off track and some humility has been replaced with a little bit of arrogance. We can always confess, ask God to get us back on track, get into a meeting, and if you need help with how to start a meeting or find one, you can call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. The law of humility, it brings honor. And I'm honored to have our guest, Cameron Sprinkle, come in just a minute, but we'll take a break first. And I hope and pray that something we say today is going to touch your heart, motivate you, and inspire you in recovery.
Are you going through your struggles alone? Do you want someone to talk to help you through your pain? Do you feel like a failure when you relapse again, telling yourself, next time will be different? Don't walk this path alone anymore. Join a life recovery group today and be a person that your friends and family can be proud of. God created us to be in community, and we believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience. There are life recovery groups all over the country, and if there isn't one in your area, we can help you start one. Life Recovery brings recovery to you, right where you are. You'll take a journey with others to find healing and freedom. Whether you're looking to join a group or start one, New Life Ministries is here for you. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE or visit liferecoverytoday.net.
Welcome back to Life Recovery Today. We've got a great guest. In fact, he was part of Life Recovery Today in the very beginning. He was behind the camera. And we're going to hear about his story. Ironically, the man behind the camera, his name was and is Cameron. Cameron, good to see you here. Good old, and you have a whole production company now. You're just filming, and
Yep.
you call yourself a pastor with a camera.
Yep.
And I think it's a great thing. You have a great story of redemption and what God can do. But as I mentioned, you were in ministry and things really got messed up. So I want to go back, not just to that, but where do you think the problem might have started in the very beginning, back years prior before the big blow up? You have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, man, I done a lot of work on that and done a lot of investigation. And, I wish it was just as simple as I'm just a sinner.
Yeah.
But there's actually a lot more to it than that.
Yeah.
And one of my earliest memories was having said something I shouldn't have said at school, being tricked into saying a terrible thing.
Yeah.
I didn't know what it meant. And my parents got a phone call, my mom got a phone call, and she said, "Did you say this?" And I said, "Yes." And I wanted to explain myself, didn't get a chance to, said, "Your father's going to deal with this when he comes home." I went and hid in the closet. I was terrified. I knew I wasn't going to have a chance to explain myself.
Right.
So that's the end of the memory. So from a very young age, I was kind of taught, if you screw up in any way, you're not going to get a chance to explain yourself. You're not going to be forgiven. There's not going to be grace. So from a very early age, I developed a habit of hiding things and protecting myself in that way. So that was, I think your parents kind of teach you what to expect from the world, and that was kind of what I learned to expect from the world is I can't really trust you with the truth.
So did that cause you to not share certain things with your wife? Is that?
Yeah. So, I had told my wife when we were just friends, before we were dating, that I'd had a pornography issue. I think I probably told her that I dealt with it. I think maybe at the time I didn't want her to think less of me or something. And so we went into the marriage, she was under the impression that I was under control, but it wasn't, and I wasn't. So a year into our marriage, I confessed that to her and to my pastors, and it was really, really, really tough. And it kind of showed why people never confess this stuff.
Yeah, and so what happened?
We worked through it, she and I, but the message that I got on staff at the church was ultimately, if this happens again, we're going to have to let you go, and nobody can ever find out about this, and they were really upset. And, an integrity issue is a really big deal. At the same time, the message that I got was, if this happens again, you have to hide it, or else you're going to lose everything you care about.
Yeah, so what happened?
It happened again.
Happened again.
Yeah, I made it about 3 months and kept it to myself, and this time I thought, okay, I love what I get to do. I grew up really insecure, really introverted, kind of odd. When I got a guitar, that's when I finally had a place in the world.
Right.
And I took this other path, and I kind of liken it to Justin Bieber syndrome, where my giftedness developed ahead of my character. And so my giftedness kept developing, my following developed, but underneath it was all built on this infrastructure that was really the emotional maturity of maybe an 8-year-old boy.
Yeah.
And so it was only a matter of time before that 8-year-old boy's worldview couldn't bear the weight of everything he was dealing with.
Yeah.
And so that happened actually 4 years ago to this day.
Is that right? Wow.
It all came crashing down.
Okay, so they came to you, and or did you go to them, or?
I wish I had the courage to bring it up.
Yeah.
But actually, it was kind of my affair partner confessed, and then they came to me, and I had to own up to what was happening.
Okay, and so did they give you severance pay? Did they help you? What was their what action did they take?
Yeah, it ended ugly. I think they gave me one more paycheck, and I would love to say that church and that community played a big role in our recovery and in our redemption story. But unfortunately, our redemption story and our recovery happened in spite of what we experienced from that community. We really lost that community.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, though, you didn't use that as an excuse not to recover. Yeah. Dave Stoop and I have worked with a lot of different churches, and we come in and we try to help the pastor develop a plan, and very few pastors will follow the plan, and then they end up starting another church, and then it's just a matter of time that they mess up again. But what did you do to get better in the very beginning? What did you and your wife, how'd you deal with all of that?
Yeah, I think the most important part of that was I acknowledged to myself that I was miserable,
Yeah.
and that I had been miserable for a long time.
Okay.
And so I knew that whatever I did next, it wasn't just going to be for her, and it wasn't going to be for my 8-month-old daughter. It was going to be because I want a better life for myself,
Yeah.
and I really need help, and I want to figure out what's going on. My first step was, it took us several weeks to figure out what to do, but my first step was I did a 2-week intensive in North Carolina.
So you really got with it. I mean, you
Yeah.
didn't just say, okay, I'm going to, which a lot of people do, I'm going to read the Bible and pray more, honey, and I think I'll really get this taken care of. You got treatment. That's good.
Yeah, I was miserable, and I knew I needed something serious, and I knew everything was on the line. And I put that on a credit card, and I think that what's his name would have something to say about that.
Dave Ramsey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't regret it. It was the best. It was about $5,000 or whatever.
Warren Buffett would congratulate you, because Warren Buffett would say the best investment you can make is in yourself.
Yeah.
And so you did that. And what did your wife do? How did she get on with you after all of this?
Man, I put her through so much, and it was really tough for her to navigate, and because she had a lot of people pressuring her to leave me, and we were separated for 2 months, and that was really good for me, good for both of us. She joined Kristen Carey's group, and Women in the Battle, and found support there, and
Good.
found some validation. And meanwhile, I joined Michael Carey's group, and Men in the Battle, and we both found help, and we kind of got maybe a bit of a roadmap of what to expect and what this means, what it doesn't mean, how it feels now, how it will feel in a year, and we kind of got some type of just guidance, because in the moment you're just spinning out, and it's like, for her, it's like finding out that gravity doesn't work sometimes.
Right.
It's just like everything she ever knew just out the window.
Well, what I love about your story and why we're sitting here is, unlike so many people that have a problem in church work or just being in a church, nobody reaches out and gets help. And so you've got the woman feeling ashamed, feeling like, oh, I should, and not having any perspective that, hey, this started back as an 8-year-old, really. The germ of it, the seed, and you were not dating at age 8. So I mean, it happened on your watch, when you're in the marriage, but it wasn't her fault. She couldn't prevent it. She didn't have the power to predict it or prevent it. It's what I like to say. But you both got help. And I know the people you got help from, so I know it was good, strong help. How long did it take her to kind of get back to some kind of normal relationship with you?
Man, it's taken several years, and I had to tell myself at the time, because it just felt like trying to army crawl to California from Indiana.
Yeah.
It was like, man, I don't know if we can do that. But I had to tell myself, well, consider this a 5 to 7 year process. I gave my addiction 30 years. Give God and give the recovery process 5 to 7 years. Give it a good fair shot, and we'll see where we're at. And it's been 4 years now, and I would say the affair and addiction recovery is well underway, and it's going well. We're dealing with, okay, what was our marriage before the affair happened? What are the dynamics that were happening? How can we untangle those things? Because it's one thing to recover from the affair or the addiction, but if you just get back to the marriage you had before it, then you're probably going to be back on the same track.
No, well, that's really great, and a lot of people don't ever do that. They don't have an addiction, but they never say, hey, we've got some stuff going on here. We're not perfect, no couple is. Let's get together and do some work. So I suspect at the end of this, you'll have the marriage that you would have never had if this hadn't happened. Not that we want it to happen. And well, we'll take a break. When we come back, I want to talk to you about some things that you've learned that maybe would benefit other folks. So we'll do that.
Sure.
Anyway, maybe you know someone who is struggling, and you call 1-800-NEW-LIFE, and they'll tell you how you could help someone that's struggling. Same number, 1-800-NEW-LIFE. If you're struggling with a sexual integrity problem, they can help you right there. We'll be back.
It's hard to find a trusted friend when you're in crisis. Someone who's been there and understands, but who also has the training and skill to give you practical help. Family, friends, and churches want to help, but often they're not equipped to care for those dealing with problems like addiction and pornography, infidelity, anger, depression. New Life Ministries is here to provide help and hope in life's hardest places. We're not focused on making people feel better. We're focused on helping people do the work that will help them be better. At New Life, we have resources available to help you, like books, DVDs, CDs, workshops, and our network of licensed counselors. If you need help, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and begin your new life today.
Welcome back to Life Recovery Today. Really thrilled to have Cameron talking about his own recovery and what happened after he lost his job in the church. So what I'm interested in now, I mean, you've gotten in recovery, you actually went into treatment, and somehow you guys landed with Michael and Kristen Carey. Yeah. Both of them have been on, and of course Misty was Kristen's sponsor, and then Misty would tell you that she's gone on to exceed her in her recovery process. But in all of this, tell me something that you didn't know about men, recovery, addiction, but you know it now and it's helpful. Is there anything you can think of that, man, this is something that it's opened the door to this new knowledge I didn't have?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think one of the things I learned is that it's really good to be connected to men who aren't like you. And I used to think that, okay, I'm an emotional guy. There's not a lot of guys like that. I'm complex. There's not a lot of guys like that. Actually, I think all men are emotional and all men are complex.
Yeah, I think we do have emotions, and we are definitely complex beings, definitely.
Yeah, and when I went into a recovery group with Michael Carey's group, I got put in a group of men where Jesus was the only common denominator.
Okay.
And our struggle with sexual brokenness. And these are men that, you know, I probably wouldn't have chosen we didn't have any commonality, but learning to listen and learning to sit and find ways to relate, just use these social and spiritual muscles that I'd never used. They were underdeveloped,
right,
because I was always looking for guys who were like me, because I didn't feel safe with manly men or
right,
with, you know, any other type of man besides myself.
So you've learned it's healthy to be with some men that aren't like you.
Yep.
I think that's huge, because we do want to be with folks that are kind of at whatever our level and our way of being, but man, we can learn an awful lot when we're with men that aren't like us. I love that. So what else in working the steps, has there been anything that's kind of been a glaring new insight that you've had? Yeah,
so one of my favorite insights came, my wife and I love movies, and we especially love the Marvel movies.
Okay.
And we're watching Doctor Strange. Have you seen Doctor
Strange?
Oh,
absolutely, yeah.
And she says, one of the characters says to him, failure pushed you to success. Your fear of failure pushed you to success. And he said, it's what made me a good doctor. And she said, but you're forgetting the most important thing of all. And Chris and I leaned in, like, what is it? And she said, it's not about you. And I think that I had been so scared of rejection that I learned how to be skilled in communication or in whatever, make myself likable. And that was how I became a good worship pastor. Like that combined with the skills and the heart that God gave me. But I felt like I had to earn everybody's affection, and I felt like I had to live up to my calling and all this. And ultimately, I finally, you know, it's not about me.
Right.
And I don't have anything I have to prove to anybody.
Yeah, it not being about you isn't just helpful in recovery, it's really helpful in a marriage. And so many of us guys, we make it all about us. Yeah. Did you guys get in counseling together, other than her going to Kristen's group and you Michael's group? What did you do to try to get this healing going between the two of you? Yeah,
we did. We went to, we saw a counselor, and we've also done intensives together. And I think a lot of that has been trying to return to the thing that brought us together in the first place, and that mutual love of Christ, and that mutual appreciation for each other. And I gotta just say, I mean, Carissa's worked really hard to understand and to try to separate my trauma from my relationship with her, and
Right.
not to project and say like, oh, this is the manifestation of her value. This
Yeah.
is the manifestation of my trauma and my weaknesses and my failures. It doesn't actually reflect on her, and that is really hard. I
Yeah.
mean, that's like tearing down your worldview and rebuilding it kind of hard.
Sure.
And so a big part of that has been for us to not take each other's responses personally, even though it's obviously a very personal relationship.
Okay, so in all of that, what insight did you get in relationship, marriage, male, female, anything you can think of that's a new understanding of what it means to be in an authentic relationship with a woman?
Yeah, I think empathy is probably just the
there you go.
theme, is being able to say, okay, because she needed me to have empathy for the state she was in. And I felt horrible. I felt so much guilt, so much shame. I didn't want to talk about what she was feeling, and
Right.
I knew I had to, so I had to sit there and bear it. But I finally had to go, okay, I can set aside the fact that I'm the one who stabbed her, and can step over here and say, I'm so sorry you're bleeding.
Yeah.
I felt like I wasn't even allowed to say I was sorry because it was like my fault.
Right.
And learning to say, I hate that you're still dealing with this.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to rush out of that conversation or say, well, I already said I was sorry, or whatever. Being able to show empathy and care for her. And she's done the same thing for me, is when past trauma has come up, that I've worked through things. She's been able to set aside how I've hurt her and say to me, like, I'm so sorry that you went through that.
Well, I'm glad that she had Kristen to kind of help her get to that place.
Kristen was
and
huge for her.
And both of you just struggling together rather
Yeah.
than separately, because I'm sure when you were doing your thing, if she's like all other women, she sensed there's something here. There's some kind of problem here. So let's say a guy is just doing a little pornography here and there. At least that's the way he says it, but it's really pretty serious.
Yeah.
What do you say? What's important for that guy to think, do, if he's going to have a really great life, not walking around feeling the shame of a little boy looking at dirty pictures?
Yeah. Well, I think the first thing is to try to take an unemotional look at what's happening and go, okay, you're in a casino. You're playing against the house. Everything in here is designed to take your money.
Yeah.
You think you're gambling just a little bit. You think you're pulling this off. You're not.
Right.
You're not getting out of here with your money. You're not winning that money back.
Yeah.
So you have to go, okay, I'm in debt. I'm going to stop now. I'm gonna cut my losses and go ahead and come forth with this confession, because you have to. That's what it took for me, is to realize, like, I thought I was gonna work my way out of this and pull this off somehow. You're not pulling it off.
Well, I think that is a tremendous insight, and I've never heard anybody say it that way, but I'll say it, and that is that everything in the pornography industry is against you. It's just like cigarettes. You might think you're smoking because you enjoy cigarettes. You're not. They got you addicted. The nicotine is the thing that is causing you to spend tons of money that you don't want to spend. And literally, the porn industry has your number. And the only way you're ever going to be free is to humble yourself and do what Cameron did and get into recovery, no matter how you get found out or confess or whatever. I've got some future insights right after this. Thanks, Cameron, for being here. We'll be back in 1 minute.
Life recovery isn't just about making the courageous choice to give up an addiction or dependency. It's a journey towards health, wholeness, and becoming your very best you. If you need resources to help you in your journey, we can help. There are many life recovery resources that you can do on your own, with a group, or with your church. We have Bibles, workbooks, and devotionals that you can use to work your recovery right where you are. That's the beauty of life recovery. To learn more or to get the Life Recovery Bible or any other life recovery resource, visit liferecoverytoday.net or call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
Welcome back to Life Recovery Today. So Cameron is an example of what every human being can experience. You know, he mentioned that it wasn't just a matter of, saying, okay, I sinned and let's get over it. But every sinner that I've ever met gets addicted to whatever sin is their favorite, whether it's gossip or, well, you name it. But also, I've never met an addict who wasn't deeply involved in sin. I've been there. I know what that's like. And so just feeling forgiven or asking forgiveness, it's not enough. We have to finally admit that we have an extreme limitation. We do not have the power in and of ourselves to get over this. But when we finally surrender, there is a gift that emerges. It's one of the 12 gifts of life recovery. And it is the gift of power. And I don't know how people ever think that they're going to have enough power to not just live with the normal stresses of life, but also this huge, dark cloud of addiction. It's horrible. And you know what you do? You feel shame, you feel weak, and you get scared to death. God didn't give us a spirit of fear. And through the Holy Spirit and our faith in the Lord, we can experience power we never dreamed we would have. It's a supernatural power called the power of the Holy Spirit. And it's available to anybody who's willing to humble themselves and surrender to God, because we, in and of ourselves, don't have enough power to alter our lives. I hope that if you are in any kind of dependency, struggle, flirting with any kind of addiction or sin, that you would use Cameron as an example. It doesn't matter if you get fired or you quit or whatever. You can begin a recovery that will restore your marriage, and restore your faith in God and your faith in yourself. And that's where security comes from, when we solidify it in an honest, humble recovery program. Thanks for joining me. If you need any help, it's 1-800-NEW-LIFE. You call us. And I hope and pray, if you don't have a Life Recovery Bible, that you'll get one. It changes everything for a lot of people. We'll see you next time right here on Life Recovery Today.
Thanks for joining us for Life Recovery Today with Stephen Arterburn. We hope this program has helped you integrate God's truth and wisdom into your recovery journey. This program is brought to you by New Life Ministries, and it's your support that keeps this program on the air. When you contact us for any reason, be sure to let us know that you watch on NRB. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE or go to liferecoverytoday.net. Please join us again next week for more Life Recovery Today.